Welcome, everybody. A lot of great faces in the audience. Thank you for being here. Okay. This is our Thursday, March 7th, regular City Commission meeting. We will call this meeting to order. And if you would join me, if you can, please stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Jennifer.
Let us begin this meeting by taking a brief moment of silence and reflection on our service to this community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, our first presentation is the Florida's. You want to get your thing out of the cabinet?
Yes, Mayor, I'll get my thing out of the cabinet.
I didn't want to give it up. It's a surprise.
My thing.
Okay. Florida's Bicycle Month proclamation. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Gao.
All right.
Out of that one.
Good evening, everyone. This is my thing. If I had him, Francis, George, if y'all could come up. And I'm already thinking next year y'all need to ride in on your bicycles. That would just be wonderful. March is, we're proud to say that it's Florida Bike Month. While it's National Bike Month in May, it's a little warm in May in Florida. So we like to celebrate or acknowledge in March. So anyway, without further ado, Florida Bicycle Month. Whereas bicycle plays an important role in the lives of millions of U.S. citizens, residents, and visitors by providing a means to travel to work, school, and parks, and is a popular form of recreation and exercise. Whereas bicycling helps encourage ecotourism and historical and environmental preservation through recognizing the importance of our nation's natural resources. And whereas bicycling promotes health and wellness and is an important part of encouraging all citizens to develop habits of physical activity to become or stay fit, avoid obesity, and reduce the risk of many chronic diseases and conditions. And whereas bicycle and pedestrian safety has been elevated to a critical priority to the U.S. Department of Transportation to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on the nation's roadways. And whereas the U.S. Department of Transportation, Fort Pinellas, and the City of Dunedin have adopted goals, objectives, and policies to develop a multimodal transportation system that supports transportation alternatives, including bicycling. And whereas the recognition of Florida's Bicycle Month will raise awareness of bicycling and ultimately promote physical activity and healthy lifestyles by elevating bicycling as a more widely accepted choice of transportation. Whereas the City of Dunedin residents and visitors encourage bicycling as a viable and environmentally sound form of transportation and an excellent form of physical activity and recreation. And the city plans and recommends projects to make bicycling more accessible and promote comprehensive community education efforts aimed at improving bicycle safety. Now therefore I, Jeff Gao, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim March as Florida Bicycle Month in Dunedin and encourage residents and visitors to celebrate bicycling as a sustainable, healthy form of transportation.
Yay.
Just very quickly, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, George Kinney on behalf of the Community Development Department, thank you for having us this evening, and Francis Leon Sharp is here to accept the proclamation. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to accept this proclamation on behalf of the city and our bicycling community. As you mentioned, Commissioner Gao, this is an excellent form of recreation and physical activity that is really unmatched by any other mode of transportation. In celebration of this month, we did want to point out to those that are watching us on television or wherever they might be at, that the city will be participating in a Fort Pinellas Targeted Enforcement Day That'll be at the Pinellas Trail on April 6, 2024. The event will have tables at the trail, and we will be providing recreational and educational literature at that event. And then very quickly, if you'll indulge me just for a second, I have 5 questions for the commission to see to kind of test your bicycle knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the wrong person for that.
So currently, worldwide, what is the estimate of how many bicycles are in use around the world?
Not enough?
Not enough? Great answer. Anybody?
No.
1 billion.
Most of them are on the Pinellas Trail.
That's correct, Mayor. How many are manufactured worldwide each year?
2 billion.
100 million.
100 million.
This is just a quick fact. Bicycles save upwards of 238 million gallons of gasoline annually. How many bikes can fit into the same area as a single car?
Depends on how thin you slice them.
I don't know.
It's 15.
15.
15? Oh, sorry, you had to guess. And last, which do you think is the most popular bike? And I'll give you 3 to pick from. Hybrids, mountain bikes, or electric bikes?
Mountain bikes?
That's correct. Excellent. 25% are,
I got one.
25% of U.S. cyclists ride mountain bikes, while 24% ride hybrid bikes. So that's all we have.
There you go.
Thank you again.
Thank you. And George, you might as well come stay up there. We have a picture.
Oh, picture.
Oh, here we go. You put your helmet back on.
Oh, you know.
Let him get his helmet.
Yeah, I gotta have that. Yeah, you.
You ready? Aren't you glad we made you put that on for that video? Thank you.
George, you might as well stay up here.
Aren't you glad you have a cabinet now?
With shelves?
Shells.
Okay. Our next set of presentations are our service awards for outgoing board and committee members. I will turn that over to George.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, George Kinney on behalf of Community Development Department. The commission is fully aware of the volunteer committees that we have in this city and the contributions they make every day to the city. We've been blessed to be the liaison to several of those committees, and we've got some special people here tonight that we really want to recognize that were instrumental to the committees that we oversee. And I can tell you from a personal perspective how they have mentored me as I've come into the city, and not only has the commission helped me acclimate the city manager, but these committee members have been terrific. So very quickly, the following individuals are being recognized tonight by the City Commission and Community Development for their outstanding service to the city of Dunedin, each with over 20 years of service, for a cumulative total of 97 years. The city has relied on each of these individuals to mentor others to their respective boards and assist in the transition to new staff personnel. With the introduction of term limits, it will not be possible for people to serve on one board for so many years in the future, but we believe it was important to say thank you to these 4 particular individuals. So I'm going to start, and I'll ask them to come up as I call out their names. Could Mike Bowman please come up? Mike is the owner of Dunedin Refrigeration, a company started by his father. Mike took control of the business in 1987 and is still going strong today. Mike grew up in Dunedin, where he went to school and has raised his family. Mike states, being part of the community, you should serve your city to the best of your ability, and feels that he has accomplished that by serving on many different city boards. He says that serving on the different boards gave him the opportunity to meet many interesting people, make friends, and help make our city a place where people want to visit and live. Mike is being awarded for his 27 years of service to the Code Enforcement Board.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's behind you. everybody else is standing too. Please.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. Very nice. I loved every minute of it. I like to do this kind of stuff. I work, and then I like to have these things to do. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. All right?
Well, Mike, you
Right.
you sat in this seat, whether it's been in this building or the other one, for many, many decades,
I
for
did
sure.
say that in one too. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
And we've all watched you. And you certainly led the committee through a very tumultuous time when we were changing from code enforcement to code compliance. So that was a valiant effort on your end, and we thank you so much for your service to this community. We know we will continue to see you on all the other boards and committees that you serve on, but you have done this well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Diane Brand. Is she here? Yep. Okay, good. Diane's career was spent with Pinellas County Schools as a classroom teacher, administrator, guest teacher, and mentor for 37 years. Diane says it's her nature to be involved in worthwhile endeavors and was compelled to contribute her knowledge and enthusiasm to the wonderful city of Dunedin. Diane is honored to have served as chairperson of the local planning agency for 22 years and was extremely fortunate to have been surrounded by outstanding professionals who also volunteered on the LPA board, who conscientiously represented the thoughts and concerns of delightful Dunedin. In addition, she enjoyed working closely with city staff and admired their dedication to their profession. And finally, it was a blessing to have worked side by side with her vice chair, Dan Massaro, for 23 years. He was the wind beneath their wings. Diane is being awarded for her 23 years with the local planning agency.
Very good.
It truly was my pleasure and an honor to serve this city. Thank you all so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Well, Diane, you know, whenever you listen to people that live in this community, they always say, don't spoil it, don't overdevelop it, don't build it too tall. There are a lot of don'ts, and you led the way to ensuring that we didn't.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Diane, for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Next, Deborah Bushnell. Debbie is a lawyer who has practiced in Dunedin for over 40 years. Debbie is a longtime resident of Dunedin and is proud of the city. She believes the charm and small-town ambiance, which has characterized the development of Dunedin, is due in large part to the good stewardship of the city administrators and commissioners, as well as the positive and constructive involvement of the citizens of Dunedin. Her goal was to assist in promoting the positive dynamic that is characteristic of Dunedin and makes it a wonderful place to live. Debbie has met many high-quality, good-hearted, and well-intentioned people who are involved in various aspects of Dunedin, many of whom are members of the city staff and officials who not only work in Dunedin and serve its citizens, but also love the city and take pride in maintaining a high quality of life and services for its residents. Debbie is being awarded for 23 years with the Board of Adjustment and Appeal.
Hey, Debbie.
Thank you very much. Just remember, we're all still here and we're all still watching.
Oh, we know that.
So no funny business.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about you being on the Board of Adjustment Appeal. That's always where somebody's trying to get away with some funny business, right? And, you know, all of us have many years on the dais. So my 18 years, Deborah Bushnell makes sure that we get a 10-page letter every time we screw up. So we know that you will be watching, and we thank you for championing our community the way you do.
And I thank you all. Dunedin is quality, and that includes you all.
And last tonight, but certainly not least, is Dan Massaro.
Yay, Dan!
Dan has served in the National Guard in Illinois. Dan worked in architecture and as a contractor for over 40 years. Dan received the delightful Dunedin Award from the Chamber of Commerce and the History Maker Award from the Dunedin Museum, among many others. Dan has been appointed to 11 city boards and committees over the past 40 years, but is being honored here tonight for his 24 years with the local planning agency.
I do have a lot to say.
Oh, my God, of course he does.
My wife warned me not to, and Diane did too. But I do want to say one thing, want to correct something. For the past 49 years, almost 49 years, I have been involved in the 11 committees and boards, as was already identified. So my span of giving of my time to the city of Dunedin has been nearly this 49-year mark. But I can honestly say that serving on the LPA for the past 24 years was not only an honor, but personally the most rewarding. I sincerely appreciate all of the support from the city staff and all of the other members of the LPA boards over all of these years. And I want to thank Diane Brand for her desire and ability for being the chairperson for most of those years. Thank you very much.
Oh, don't go anywhere. So Dan, you know, when you started out a long time ago, and I don't know.
I have this list of
Yeah,
all
no.
these committees.
This is for the benefit of those watching. You were a part of creating the downtown CRA and the zoning and how to plan for all of that. And that was 70s, early 80s?
Well, it started in 1975 with
Yeah.
the Community Block Grant Program, and then on.
Yeah. So you've been around a long time and seen just how, you know, Dunedin isn't the great place it is without all the planning. And you were one of the planners. And then, of course, you know, everybody in Dunedin, just as folks don't want things to be tall and big, they don't want them to be ugly. And we have this architect that really pushed us, at least one of the driving forces for us getting an architectural review committee, and someone who was able to advise many of us privately on how to approach judging a development on their architecture, because there is free speech, you know, and people can have what they really want to have, but how does it fit into the community? And you brought us there. So we can't thank you enough for that. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, so we want to call all the award recipients forward so that we can take a group picture. Come on down.
Right here.
Come on, Mike, all the way back. All the way back. All the way back. That's okay. She'll push you where you need to be.
All right, there, I need you over here. And then I need Commissioner Walker about right there. And there a little bit more, that's good, that's good.
Slide.
Okay, we made it work.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, we made it work, we made it work. Okay, everyone look at me. I'm gonna take a few, because want to make sure all of our eyes are open. Oh, I'll just keep it this way. All right, a few more. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Those are some big shoes to follow. I just know that we'll have other great residents that step up, and I know these folks will be good mentors for them. All right, now for the event of the night. Oh, sorry. I can't skip this. It's also an event tonight. It's citizen input. Does anyone in the audience have any item to come forward and speak about? Come on down. Give us your name and address for the agenda, for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Welcome.
John Gaddu, 1426 Alamo Lane.
Welcome.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, there have been several articles published in the last few weeks confirming that the coke plant is scheduled to close May 31st. Would you please give us a short update on the status of this property, the recent discussions with the property owners, the proposed zoning going forward, and potential outcomes favored by the city? Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go through all of our citizen input first, and then we'll have you answer. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak to any item that's not on the agenda? Give us your name and address for the record.
Evening, everybody. Vinnie Luisi, 854 Cambridge Court. I wanted just to mention that last week I was at the presentation about the city update. I call it the State of the Union address, but it was very well done, and I commend everybody that worked on it. It was well laid out. However, I was a little concerned with the fact with all our redevelopment that's going on and our expansion in the community, we should in the future or somewhere put in about our community being historic preservation minded on that, because as we grow, we still are very concerned about the history of the community and try to preserve our district, historic district, and continue to do that. So as a committee member, I would recommend somewhere in there that that be put into the programming as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on down. Name and address for the record.
Mary Skinner Narine, 590 Walden Court. Mary Skinner Narine, 590 Walden Court. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. Today, I want to comment about the impending closure of Coca-Cola's operations here and bring to your attention the possibility of partnering with Coca-Cola by utilizing the Live Local Act, or SB 102. And other grants available for local workforce housing. This initiative aligns with our shared vision of creating a vibrant, inclusive community where all residents can live, work, and thrive. The success and growth of Dunedin's tourism industry are closely tied to addressing the labor challenges facing this section. By leveraging the provisions outlined in the Live Local Act, we can work towards creating sustainable solutions to our housing crisis, especially in rental housing. Workers living in Trinidad spend their money here and are more knowledgeable about the city than those living outside our city. We need a robust and local workforce to support and grow our tourism industry. I stress local workforce because tourists love to interact with workers and learn about our community. As a long-standing good corporate citizen in Dunedin, Coca-Cola has an opportunity to leave a lasting positive impact on our community. This it can do by donating a portion of the 27.5 acres it owns for the purpose of building affordable rental units for our local workforce. We could name the area the Coca-Cola track or park, whatever, just give Coca-Cola recognition and a legacy in Dunedin. The SB 102 states that local governments are allowed affordable housing developments and commercial, industrial, and mixed-use zoning like in Coca-Cola as needed without having to get permitting changes. According to flgov.com, there are several ways that the SB 102 Act incentivizes workforce housing development. One, it creates a new tax donation program that allows corporations like Coca-Cola direct payments toward funding housing programs, in which they in return can receive generous tax credits up to $25 million. It's a win-win situation. It provides up to $5,000 refund on sales tax on building materials for units funded through Florida Housing and Finance Corporation. It expands qualification for the Job Growth Grant Fund to authorize public infrastructure projects supporting this housing. I am confident with your leadership and the support of our community, we can make meaningful strides to enable our workforce to live, work, and thrive here in Dunedin. Thank you.
You made it.
I have 10 minutes.
Wow. All right. Anyone else wishing to come forward and speak to any item not on the agenda? Okay. So Jennifer, I think I got the questions correct. Who owns it? What is it zoned as? What are our conversations with Coca-Cola? And what do we want to see it as?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. So the property, and for those who may be watching who don't know where it is, it's on Martin Luther King and the Pinellas Trail, along the Pinellas Trail. We were informed, maybe even up to 4 years ago, I think, that the plant would be closing. At that point, it was imminent, actually. And due to COVID and some supply chain issues, their new location, which is on the Peace River in Bartow, took a much longer time to construct than they thought it would. So the plant continued, and we were actually overjoyed. They were running that up to 400 employees at one time, and they were running shifts 24/7. And so they did announce, however, finally, that the plant, Peace River plant, is ready, and that they will be closing on the 31st of this year. So that's right around the corner. The property is zoned industrial and land use for industrial. And one thing that I think is a common mistake out there on social media world is that what is the city going to do with it? The city does not own it. As you know, Coca-Cola owns it. And so what we have been doing is we originally, when they first announced they were going to close down, we reached out to Coca-Cola in Atlanta, not local, but in Atlanta, their real estate division. And we wanted to get in that door as quickly as we could to let them know that they have been wonderful corporate partners to the city of Dunedin. We, in turn, have been wonderful to them as well, and that we anticipate that when they sell the property, that we are going to not participate in the sale, but have a pretty good say about what we'd like to see there in the future. It is about 27 acres, so there are all sorts of possibilities. We did contract with something called Urban Land Institute, and Urban Land Institute is an organization. They have commercial realtors, attorneys, planners, engineers, all sorts of folks with expertise in the market to really look at the property and to walk. We had to walk around it, though. We could not get into the property. It was still under operation. And then make recommendations as far as the highest and best use that we could share with Coca-Cola. We didn't want to see a storage facility there. We didn't want to see, all those sorts of things. What is the highest and best use that will be of most impactful and most benefit to the residents and businesses within the city of Dunedin? And so Urban Land Institute came back with some workforce housing on the property, as well as light industry, targeted light industry, which is biomedical, pharmaceutical, those types of uses on the property. And so, the amount of affordable housing, and Live Local wasn't even in play at that point. It hadn't been passed yet. And so, the amount of affordable housing on the property is to be determined. The mayor has sat in on several meetings with Coca-Cola in Atlanta. They have committed to us that they will sell for highest and best use, and that we will be not at the table necessarily, because it's a real estate transaction, but certainly in the room when those things are discussed moving forward. So we, in working with Coca-Cola, we're concerned about their employees, and they have actually been very good to their employees in terms of pay up until when they close, and then severance pay as well. So there are several job fairs going on. Right now, it's a good time to be an employee in terms of the use of the factory. We had they let us have the first go round, meaning the city of Dunedin, and we did embed ourselves in their lunchroom, so we could talk to all of their employees as they circulated in and out, to tell them a little bit about our open positions and to talk about some possibilities with them. And we got some applications for our water wastewater division, because they have infrastructure on their property as well. So we're looking for a continued partnership, and then the Chamber of Commerce and Career Source, Pinellas Career Source, are having another job fair coming up here in March. So things are happening. Those wheels are finally turning, and so we continue to talk to Coca-Cola. both the manager here in Dunedin and as well as their real estate division, and we definitely have their ear. And so, and their email addresses, and we know where they live. So we're gonna go after them. But we are on it, and we have been talking to them for quite a long time about the use of the property, Mary, and looking at that workforce housing or housing prospect. It's Urban Land Institute recommended it. That's contingent upon some other issues or, on the property itself. So if you just stay tuned, and we'll communicate through Sue's Engage page, yes? Right, on our website, and keep you up to date with where we are with that.
I think it's really important to say that the only control the city has is what the property is zoned as and what that zoning use, the use of that zoning is allowed. We can't control who they sell to. We have talked to them about donation of land, and that's not on the table at this moment. They know that we want a mixture of jobs and not just service industry jobs. We want higher paying jobs and then maybe housing for those higher paying jobs right there on the property. But they are, I just want to reiterate again what you already said. They are allowed to sell and do whatever they so choose, and we have no right to stop them. So that's why we've spent a number of years meeting with them monthly and quarterly.
We don't control totally land use either.
No, we don't. No, we don't. So there are opportunities to build affordable housing. You're not wrong on that, on industrial land. But I know that our biggest priority is to replace the jobs we're losing with decent paying jobs. And so that's our goal, but we can want all we want. It really is up to whoever the next person is that comes in. Hope that answers all your questions. Okay, we will move on now to the item of the night. And that is the second reading of Ordinance 24-04, the historic landmark designation for 501 New York Avenue. Jennifer, would you please read Ordinance 2404 by title only?
Ordinance 2404, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, designating certain real property located at 501 New York Avenue, Dunedin, Florida, 34698-7825, parcel number 35-28-15-0000-230-0300 with meets and bounds and totaling approximately 5.23 acres, and the residential structure thereon as a local historic landmark and providing for an effective date. That was Ordinance 2404, read by title only.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Walker. Francis?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Frances Leong Sharp, Planner 2 for the city, presenting our second and final reading of the historic landmark designation for the property at 501 New York Avenue. It is also known as the Earl Family Homestead, home of the world-renowned oceanographer and ambassador of the ocean, Dr. Sylvia Earle. And just to quickly orient everybody, this is the general location of the property. And then right there, you will see the boundary survey of the property that is approximately 5 acres. And within the 5 acre of land, we do have an existing single-family home that is located at that corner that is as depicted there, as well as a home that was once stood there, but there is a fireplace chimney that is still standing there from a previous home that stood there, as well as the lake, also known as Lake Earl. So one of the criteria for designation is of the historical and cultural significance. And a very good example here is that we do confirm that this is a child and current home of Dr. Earle, who is an oceanographer, scuba diver, and research scientist. She also founded the organization called Mission Blue, which is also the organization that designated Tampa Bay as one of the approximate 150 global hope spots as a vital place for protection. Dr. Earl's parents, Lewis and Alice Earl, were also known as the early adapters in environmental stewardship and wildlife conservation. And the saga and the legacy continues on with Dr. Earl's children, Richard, who is a fish and game warden for the state of California, and Elizabeth, an ocean technology engineer, continuing the commitment to environmental stewardship. Another criteria for designation for this historic landmark is the site significance. Once again, this is a home to 4 generations of the Earl family. Lewis and Alice Earl purchased the property to establish their home and also instill their passion for love and nature for future generation. And the property is also made as a model for understanding and conserving the area's unique flora and fauna, as evidenced here, placing the protections for native heritage oaks, established a 5-acre landscape with a small pond, also known as Lake Earl, as a bird sanctuary for migratory birds. Last but not least, they have planted native species of plants to support the land's biodiversity. And then last but not least, for the designation for the landmark, it's of its architectural and structural significance. So Dr. Earl's parents built the home in 1958, and it is of the old Flora mid-century ranch architectural style as evidenced in the photos here. And one of the unique features of this building is that the materials used and built are to maximize the passive cooling techniques for the home. One of the things that they have used is local stone, and then the use of the low-impact material for insulation, as well as the use of the jalousie windows for passive ventilation, an open floor plan in itself for cross-ventilation, and the whole house is fanned. Unfortunately, we do not have any records of the architect or builder known for this. And back on July 13, 2023, the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee did hold a public hearing for this case, and they have recommended approval for the local historic designation, as well as a first reading of this ordinance was done back on January 12, 2024, and City Commission had unanimously recommended approval of the first reading of the ordinance. So in conclusion, staff finds that the request is consistent with the applicable review criteria, and therefore staff recommendation is to approve ordinance 24-04. Last but not least, we do have Dr. Sylvia Earl here present in our audience. So I will let Dr. Earl
Come on down. Welcome.
On behalf of Lewis and Alice Earl, my parents, and my brothers and the rest of the family, I want to express my profound appreciation to all of you, and all of you neighbors, for agreeing to accept this proposal. I think it is certainly what my parents would have wished to secure an enduring future for. It's just a little patch of wild in the midst of the city, and I certainly will do my utmost to be good neighbors with all of the neighbors, those with wings, those with fur, and certainly humans. I came to Florida myself as a child when my parents moved here, had the wisdom to come from New Jersey in 1947, and went to Dunedin Junior High School, Dunedin High School, didn't exist, so I went to Clearwater High School. And I say when Clearwater had clear water. Went to St. Pete Junior College when it was a junior college, Florida State, and also spent some time at the University of Florida, so I have deep roots here personally.
Go Gators.
But this designation, I really am thrilled primarily as a tribute to my parents, Lewis and Alice Earl, who had the vision to acquire a little patch of Florida here in Dunedin. It was in the county at first and brought into the city. And I just want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And look forward to a long and prosperous future for those big old oaks, the cypress trees, and all the creatures who also call Dunedin home. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Might as well come on down here and let her take a picture.
For the video.
Yep.
Just stand right in the middle here, Dr. Earl. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, by the way.
No.
Not allowed. All right. Excellent. Hold that up again like you did before. Hold it up above your head like you did before.
There you go.
Let's see, I can still see the video. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so I do have to open it up and allow anybody else that would like to come forward and speak to this item. Please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none. Commissioner Gao, you were the maker of the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I was so excited to make the motion, but I thought, oh, no, I'm going to have to say something, and I really don't know what to say other than, the city has a history of historic preservation. It's not real long, but we've started it, and we seem to be going well with it. And you heard Vinnie speak earlier on the need to include that in our state of the city. So it kind of makes a statement on who we are as a community. And when you tie that need and desire to hold on to our past as we grow and to acknowledge the environment within that is just a wonderful web of who we are as a community, and the idea that we have a piece of green peace in our community, a green space that can act as a respite for wildlife, for bees to pollinate, wildlife. Maybe it's the start of a wildlife corridor through Dunedin. Wouldn't that be wonderful? How can our furry friends and our feathered friends make it from Hammock Park to Gladys Douglas Preserve, safely? And so thank you, Sylvia, for donating your home to allow us the ability to label it as a home of preservation and what you're doing there. So just thank you very much for tonight. It's a wonderful night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Walker?
Like my colleagues, I'm also having a hard time finding the words, and that's very uncharacteristic of me. Dr. Earl, you have dedicated your life to preserving our oceans, preserving our coastline, and so much in between. And it is only fitting that you are essentially donating your house for the cultural and historical preservation of everything that your family stood for. Your impact is lasting, as is testament to your children going out in the world and protecting and maintaining our environment. And I personally, one of the reasons I ran for the commission was because I do have a passion for the historical and cultural significance of everything that is Dunedin. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much for sharing your home with us. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Well, that was just almost too good. Now, what am I going to say? Yeah, so.
The man that's got a loss of words.
No, obviously, this kind of rises to two different passions. One, of course, environmental, which has been your passion, but the historic preservation, which is another Dunedin passion. But I love that you tipped your hat to two specific things, to your parents, Louis and Alice Earl. I think last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we had Frederica Peoples here, and she was doing this to honor her parents. And I just think that's what the value of the historic preservation is, not just the structure. It's so much more than a structure. It's the family that was there and what they produced. And you're a great example of, the best of what can be produced out of Dunedin. And you also tipped your hat to the creatures here that also call Dunedin home. And sometimes that's forgotten. And it takes somebody of passion to continue to remind us that, we all share this fragile earth, and we need to respect that. So thank you for this. And it's an honor to be on the commission to have this happen. Thank you.
Commissioner Twanga.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Earl, I sat and listened to you, and I have such great expectations because of your reputation. But I must say, I must applaud a simple statement that you made, and I'm going to leave it at that this was a tribute to your parents, and it made me really proud and gave me some goosebumps. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Commissioner. Dr. Earl, you may not know this about me, but most people do, that I grew up here in Dunedin. I went to Dunedin Elementary, Dunedin Junior High School, and Dunedin High. It was open by the time I got there. But I remember going to Dunedin Elementary, which is, of course, not very far from your house, and Dunedin Middle School, the old one. And I would ride my bike through that neighborhood many, many different times. I started riding my bike. Back then, you could ride your bike halfway across the world in 3rd grade and not think twice about it. And I did. I rode my bike everywhere. My parents lived, well, where Save-A-Lot is now, but it was the old Publix back in the day. And my parents lived across from there, and that's where I lived. So I went through your neighborhood all the time. I rode past your house many times, and one of your neighbors was Mrs. Honnold, who owned the Dunedin Day School, which I also went to. So I would go visit her, and I would go past your house. So for me, your house is it's an institution, and I think for a lot of people it is. We all it's been there forever. It's been there my entire life. And I'm 58 and proud to say it. And I just enjoyed being in your neighborhood and always knowing there was a lake there. I mean, I always knew. I didn't know who lived there or the significance of that. But I always knew that there were woods and a lake, and I don't know, everybody knew it. It was just expected. And so at 58 now, looking back on that, there is no way I would want to see anything happen to it, because I hope that my grandchildren will be riding through that neighborhood someday. And just have that same experience. Oh, there's a bunch of houses, but look at all those woods and that lake. And maybe that's all they think about, right? That it's that quick, but it's something that you've thought about your whole life. And I think that's important to have those spots that you always remember when you're a kid. And I think there'll be a lot of future kids that will look at that and remember it too. So thank you to both of you, your family, and your parents. Thank you. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Twanga?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Frainie?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Mayor Brzezowski?
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Yay! All right, I know that there is a little gathering happening, so if you guys want to get up and go, feel free. We'll kick you out. Because we still have a little business to do. So you don't have to stick around and be polite. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I could have, but I didn't want to make it about, I made it about me enough, but being in the neighborhood. I know. That's right. Yeah.
And so, Michael, you have to follow that. Have fun.
I thought this was the event of the night.
Yeah. Make it quick, Michael.
I'll try.
Don't feel bad. I always say it to Jorge, too, so.
It never works with Jorge either. so-
No. But for different reasons.
Mayor, before
Okay.
Michael starts, you did get a supplement with the PowerPoint this morning. Instead of handing it out to you on the dais, we really wanted to be committed to the public record as well, because there's some really good information in there
Okay.
about some of the stuff that we've done regarding cybersecurity.
Okay. All right, Michael? Wait a minute. Jennifer, Resolution 2505, adopting National Institute of Standards of Technology Framework as required by Florida Section 282.3185, Local Government Cybersecurity Act. Would you please read by title only?
Yes, Resolution 2024-05, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, adopting the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework as the cybersecurity standard for the City of Dunedin, Florida, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and that was Resolution 2024-05, read by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Tonga and Commissioner Walker, thank you. Michael, you're on.
Oh, well, it's approved. No. So, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm Michael Nagy, Director of IT Services. I'm here to present the Resolution 2405 to adopt the standards, the NIST standards for the city, and to provide some insight as to why Dunedin should adopt this resolution. So Florida Statute Section 282.3185, the Local Government Cybersecurity Act, establishes cybersecurity requirements for county and municipal governments. The statute requires that each local government adopt a cybersecurity standard that safeguards its data, information technology, and information technology resources to ensure availability, confidentiality, and integrity. Those cybersecurity standards must be consistent with the generally accepted best practices for cybersecurity, including the National Institute of Standards and Technology's Cybersecurity Framework, also known as NIST CFF. So Section 282.3185, subsection 4.c of the statute requires that all municipalities with a population of 25,000 or more adopt such a cybersecurity standard by January 1st of 2024. The statute is not a NIST compliant requirement, but rather a requirement to adopt a cybersecurity framework and follow it. So what is NIST and who is NIST? NIST is a federal agency within the United States Department of Commerce. Founded in 1901, their mission is to promote U.S. innovation and industrial competitiveness by advancing measurement, science, standards, and technology in ways that enhance economic security and improve our quality of life. Since 1972, NIST has conducted cybersecurity research and developed cybersecurity guidance for industry, government, and academia. The resolution that we are approving today is the adoption of that NIST CSF as a guideline to help the City of Dunedin improve upon our cybersecurity program and initiatives. What is the NIST framework we're talking about? It is based on existing standards, guidelines, and practices for organizations to better manage and reduce their cybersecurity risk or threat. In addition, the NIST framework was designed to foster risk and cybersecurity management communications amongst both internal and external organizational stakeholders. The core of the NIST framework is a set of cybersecurity activities, desired outcomes, and applicable references that are common across critical infrastructure sectors. The framework consists of 5 following guidelines: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. In the identify framework, the city will follow the NIST guidelines to identify critical enterprise processes and assets, maintain our hardware and software inventory, establish policies for cybersecurity that include roles and responsibilities, identify threats, vulnerabilities, and risk to assets. In the Protect framework, the city will follow the NIST guidelines to manage access to our assets and information with unique accounts and passwords, protect sensitive data with encryption, conduct regular backups, protect our devices with firewalls and antivirus protection, manage device vulnerabilities with required software updates and patches, and also train our users. In the Detect framework, the city will follow the NIST guidelines to test and update detection processes for unauthorized entities, know the expected data flows of our enterprise so that we know if data is being moved outside of our network, maintain and monitor logs to identify anomalies or changes on the network, and understand the impact of cybersecurity events and how to seek help. In the Respond framework, the city will follow the NIST guidelines to ensure response plans are tested, ensure response plans are updated, and coordinate with internal and external stakeholders. And the last one, in the recovery framework aspect, the city will follow the NIST guidelines to communicate with internal and external stakeholders, of course, ensure recovery plans are updated, and manage public relations and city reputation. Since the cyber attack of October 2022, the city's IT services department has been implementing many new cybersecurity initiatives and protection systems. Those systems to date include these 12 areas of protection and initiatives: a cloud-based ERP connection and access, cloud-based email, redundant data and backup systems, cloud-based data storage, advanced antivirus protection, a managed detection and response service, a comprehensive preparedness service, multi-factor authentication, also referred to as MFA, cybersecurity training, NIST training, and a network infrastructure assessment. With the cloud-based ERP connection and access, the city no longer hosts its core ERP system locally. We use a secure, encrypted service hosted by our ERP provider to update and access our ERP data. With the cloud-based email, the city no longer hosts its core email system locally. City email is located in Microsoft Office's 365 secure and encrypted governmental cloud site. Email is accessible securely from any internet connection. With the redundant data storage and backup systems, we have large-scale data storage devices located in 2 separate city sites for redundancy purposes. We also back up our data onto 2 separate devices located in 2 separate city sites for redundancy purposes as well. All of these redundant systems are on non-Windows devices that are not accessible or able to be penetrated by threat actors, or have been proven to be not penetrable by threat actors. With the cloud-based data storage, this is a tertiary means of data protection. The city stores our users' data not only on the 2 redundant backup sites, we also store it in a secure AWS cloud site that is used by banks, the military, and federal government agencies. This is an added measure in the event the 2 local redundant storage devices and backup devices are ever compromised or destroyed. With the advanced antivirus protection, we are using the same antivirus software protection system recommended by the city's cyber insurance carrier. This program was used immediately after the recovery from the cyber attack and has been protecting the city devices ever since. This antivirus system provides deep system analysis and intrusion protection on every computer and laptop. It has the capability to detect anomalies on our network before they happen and reacts accordingly with alerts and thwarts off any issues. With the managed detection and response service, we are constantly monitoring, detecting, and responding to any intrusion or attempt to access or connect to our data network. It provides real-time alerts regarding breaches and unauthorized changes to any system settings. It identifies unique and suspicious activity in the ERP system. It has the ability to disable an infected Windows computer. It provides 24/7 critical log reporting on all monitoring activities. It provides a monthly threat findings report and provides a secure online portal for our authorized network staff to view all of our network traffic 24 hours a day. The comprehensive preparedness service that we have also provides 24/7 monitoring for threats, intrusions, and anomalies on our ERP system. It provides external penetration tests and vulnerability scans to see if we have intruders It provides internal vulnerability scans on our data and all of our ERP systems. It assists the city with it also provides staff that will assist the city with incident response plans creation and exercises for IT staff and end users. They will also assist the city with creating security policies, and they provide cybersecurity awareness training, and they perform ongoing IT risk assessment on our connectivity. With the multi-factor authentication, the MFA, it is a three-step process for remote and local users to ensure they are actually the authorized city employees that are trying to gain access to our network and our email systems. MFA is also required in order to access the city's core ERP system to make sure you are an authorized user. And we are currently looking to MFA to access our city email from an external source. Meaning if you're outside of here and you want to log onto your email, you're going to have a multi-factor authentication. Internally, we've already had that in place, so you wouldn't need to do that internally. But it's an extra step to know who you are. And with the cybersecurity and NIST training, we've contracted with a third-party vendor to provide cybersecurity training sessions and email phishing campaigns for all city employees. And IT staff are currently partaking in the NIST-related training courses that will improve upon our cybersecurity knowledge, our skills, and ability to better protect the city's data network from outside threats. And with the network infrastructure assessment that we recently had done, it provided a comprehensive on-site assessment of the IT data center and network rooms in the new City Hall building. This assessment covered room access, fire stopping systems, combustibles and dust, cabling infrastructure, our electrical power load balancing in the rooms, the uninterruptible power supplies and battery backup systems in the room, and our cooling and heat disbursement. The assessment report was based on industry-accepted best practices, standards, which included the NIST framework guideline. So all of these services mentioned, I'm sorry. Yes, in summary, all of these services mentioned in this presentation fall under the guidance of the NIST framework, and the city has already been implementing protection systems that meet these requirements of the state statute. Therefore, in accordance with the requirements of the Florida statute 282.3185 as read, we hereby recommend that the commission adopt this.
I'm just messing.
I know.
I totally.
Last one's questions.
When we get into these really long-winded things, it's the only way that I can,
I know. It's not often I get to be here, so.
Ask Jorge, he's always usually at the other end of it. You just happen to be the guy today.
Exactly. I could take it.
My colleagues, questions?
One, and maybe you've said this, and maybe that's when I nodded. I don't know. No,
Oh,
just
we're all
kidding.
nodding.
Just kidding.
You can read it later.
Past my bedtime.
So, I mean, obviously, this is all critical stuff. We know that. We learned that the hard way. So, from an external audit point of view, like, what part of this is all internal versus do we have an external audit that's double-checking us saying, yeah, you're not missing anything?
So the MDR, the Managed Detection and Response, and the CPS, the Comprehensive Preparedness Service, those are doing external penetration tests. Those are constantly looking at the external intruders or anybody accessing trying to attempt or has ability to access anything on our site. We get monthly reports, or actually daily reports, on where the top, and if you happen to read the city manager's update, monthly update, the new item we have under the IT section is the top 10 countries that are have attempt threats against the city of Dunedin. Mm-hmm. And they're in the hundreds of thousands of attempts. And then there's also a section of how many malware attempts. And within the last 30 days, we had not one malware attempt in the city. In the previous month, we had like 18,000. None of them went through because these systems protect us. So from an outside standpoint, these systems are looking at anybody trying to infiltrate us. We recently had some employees visit foreign countries, and their email was trying to be overtaken, and we caught that. Our systems caught that. It wasn't them accessing us. They never got access. The intruders never got access, but it detected it, found it, and stopped it. So from an outside standpoint, we're doing everything we can to protect us. You can never fully protect yourself from anything, but we're constantly on the move, doing the training and implementing what we can. And following the NIST guidelines is a big help. Right. Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Sure.
Commissioner Torngo?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to go ahead and make the comment. This all sounded like a lot of material, but with Florida League of Cities, I know that on the administrative side, I was on the administrative committee for them, and this was just a really important part throughout the entire state of Florida. So I gathered the word from you required
Yes.
rather quickly in the very beginning, and that is true. And so to have this in place the way we have it here, I'm really proud of what I've just heard and what I've seen, and I really applaud that. I do recall me reminding the 80 other members of what happened to us and the importance of this. So thank you very much for bringing all this up and for making sure that we have this in place.
Did you have any comments, Vice Mayor?
I'm sorry?
No, I was asking, because I was asking for questions. Do you have comments? And that way I won't have to come back.
No, not really. I mean, we all know this is really an important thing that we do. It's not sexy, but it's important.
Questions and comments. Yeah, Michael, this afternoon, I tried to get on the internet and it kept buffering. Do you know what that might? I'm kidding.
We'll talk later.
I got a 400 error this afternoon. What was that? I know it's kind of like whack-a-mole, what we're doing. We can never say that we're really protected. This was an insane amount of material. I am confident that you understand it much better than I did. But going forward, do you have any concerns that you can talk about publicly? I understand that's the challenge with a lot of this is we don't want to talk about it. But where do you see the city in 5 years?
Well, depending what the technology is out there, there's always going to be threat actors who are going to find new and better ways to infiltrate you. And the city needs to position itself as far as staffing to have the resources to constantly monitor and maintain that. We're doing all this with the current staffing we have, and it's limited because we've got so many projects, and a lot of this is new to us, that the current staff are learning this and have to maintain this while still doing their other jobs. So I see us needing some sort of organizational structure, a little bit of change there to help us with that. It's really hard to tell with not knowing what the threats are out there, what technology is going to change. I know AI is a big thing out there. I personally don't see how that's going to really affect city business because it's more advanced than I think the things that we would probably ever need within the next 5 years, maybe 10 years down the road, things may change. But I did want to make one comment about this. Yes, it is required by state that the city adopts something that they're going to do. They have an initiative to do. And in doing so, the state statute, they put in place that if this municipality adopts something, their liability for any future cyber attacks is limited or I don't know if it's limited or completely done away with. If we don't adopt something and we don't practice these things and we have an attack, the state can fine us or make us liable for that. So we're putting ourselves in a position that, yes, we want to follow the guidelines. We want to make sure that we're protecting everything we can.
Very good. Yeah, thank you, Mike. And I guess my only comments are, right, we all know what we went through.
Yeah.
And so just where we have come and what you have done is just leaps and bounds. So, especially with the staff that you have. So thank you very much for everything you've done. This was a crazy presentation tonight. So.
I try to make it somewhat colorful, like instead of just reading the resolution. And
that's cute.
I'm going to show you something.
Trying to make IT colorful. Needed pop-ups and crayons, maybe. I don't know. Yes. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
I don't want to scare you.
Commissioner.
So I'm just going to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this.
I knew you would.
No, seriously. Really. I think, I'm glad you brought up future threat actors because there's really two types of threats. Well, there's more than that, but there's the real-time threat of the actual event where we're getting attacked.
Mm-hmm.
there is then the threat that is posed by future threat actors. And again, as you said, they're going to find ways and new ways. And I sat in on a presentation on artificial intelligence and how this will ultimately shape a lot of this, because that's going to really open up Pandora's box in terms of the vulnerabilities. And now, so with that said, I think this is a question now. In terms of the migration to the cloud and everything we've done in terms of redundant data storages and everything else, my sense is that that provides an extra layer of security, because you can implement technological updates and fixes much more efficiently and easier without a tremendous load on our employees, our resources, your IT department. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, that's a big advantage to that, because you're kind of taking away a facet that is very vulnerable. I'll just leave it with one comment. The NIST standard it's exactly that. It's the standard by which we have to design, implement, and execute all of our information technology. And so I think it is absolutely appropriate that we have some measure of documenting our adoption of this. The question, do we need a resolution for this, or what's the
It is a
criteria?
resolution.
Right, okay, all right. No, I know we're going to be voting on a resolution. I'm just kind of curious as to why it's a resolution, but.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
So with a resolution, it means that it's an official way for the commission to say they adopt a policy.
Got it. Okay.
Versus just saying it without a resolution. And it's in writing, it's just more official.
Okay.
So we do that with a lot of different things, but like, for instance, I'll give you an example of something I know you've approved is our board policies
Yeah.
that we do every year in December.
Yeah.
It's done by resolution, so it's official.
Okay. That totally makes sense.
And I wasn't sure if we would go down that path. Did we need to do a resolution? But a lot of our sister municipalities out there, a lot of them have already adopted, and they went this route. They wanted to put it out there for the public. They wanted it in writing. So it's like, well, they're doing it. Maybe
Yeah,
it'd be
and
a good thing
that's
for
really
us.
more personal curiosity, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with the NIST standard, and absolutely, this is the right thing to do. You got to have a standard. Yep, that's all I got.
Thank you. You look like you wanted to say something about it.
It's fine. I was just going to say also, because you have a new state law out there that requires that you adopt a policy, by adopting it by resolution, you have evidence that you've complied with that statute.
Besides a set of minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Jennifer, are you happy about this?
I am.
You look thrilled. No. Sorry. I don't mean to be making light of it. We went through a really, really terrible, terrible cyber attack. And really, I wouldn't say it was because we did a lot wrong, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen to everybody. They're going to get hacked in some way or another. So the more that we can do internally, and Michael, we appreciate everything that you and your department have done, along with all of the employees, the steps they've taken. Yes, this is a state law, but I was glad to hear that you said we're already doing a lot of this. But yeah, we got hacked in a big way, in a really big way. Like, I don't have any of my contacts anymore, any of my email folders. That's just me. And not that I am like even, I'm not the day-to-day people here.
We actually drew straws to try to figure out who had to tell you that.
Yeah, I was not happy. I'm still trying to recover those
I know.
contacts. Yeah, I don't react well to those kinds of things. It is devastating. I mean, and it's funny because if I search it in a certain way, I can find them, but you can't see them. They're like stuck underneath some little invisible shield somewhere. And if I search it the right way, I can find it. Or if somebody calls me that I don't have in my contacts, it'll pop up, we think it's X, you know. Anyway, neither here nor there. I'm very happy,
Thank you.
you know, that we're doing this, and I appreciate all the efforts that you've made since that cyber attack. Okay. This is a public meeting. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to this item? Seeing or hearing none. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Franny,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Tonga,
Aye.
Mayor Buszowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael. Then we have the proposed agenda for March 21st. Anybody have any changes?
Got a question.
Uh-huh.
So,
Caution. Joe
Caution.
Rogers or Will Rogers?
yeah.
I'm just teasing.
So the broadbanding, 2, 3, and 4, Jennifer? Obviously, you know, I'm a big proponent, but this collides with our major capital items, you know, our 4 biggies. And so I know that we had extensive discussion about what we could do now, what we should wait on. So I guess my question, and, you know, maybe this will be part of the staffing, how does that fit into it? If we do design and we don't do all of them right away, like how is that, you know, a factor? I just want to make sure we're remembering
What can be
that this
phased,
is
right.
tied into decisions on the money necessary for the top 4. So,
Okay. If, I'd like to incorporate that in the staffing.
okay.
And essentially, can it be phased and what can be phased?
Yeah, I'm sure the mayor would like you to go into like a 20-minute thing right now about, exhibit. Yeah.
No?
Yeah, just kidding. No, I just wanted to kind of
Come
make sure
hitting
that's
the
part of it.
wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and this is just the design services, right?
Right, and it may
That's
be
coming.
worth it to
So
do.
sometimes you do the design services all at once and then you phase the rest of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
however that fits, because that may be right. Like, let's get it designed, and then we can figure
And
out
we have it as we have
when
money.
do we
it.
actually pull the trigger.
Right, and this is ARPA funding for, this is the design, and you were also using ARPA funding for the design of the pool.
Right.
And we can get into it, but as you know, the pool won't be, you know, far enough along to use ARPA funding for, so that we've already
Right.
described those funding sources.
Understood, but
So we have to use
as
up
we
that
know,
money.
it's all interchangeable. Therefore, timing and amounts and
Yeah.
how much we're going to need are critical to
So-
just making sure we don't
Right.
spend money we need for something else. That's
Yeah.
all.
So the other part of that as well is that Les Tyler and I had a long conversation about ARPA, and we're going to bring it to you in a workshop to tell you exactly where we are with the projects and expenditure. So.
And how much interest
And he's
we've made.
preparing that right now, right, exactly. He's preparing that right now.
Good.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, can I have a motion and a second to approve the
So moved.
agenda?
Second.
Commissioner Walker, Vice Mayor Franny, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Anything informational that must be shared at this very second before I hit my head on the counter and fall asleep?
I have 3 items.
Stop.
I do have one, Mayor, just real quickly,
Sure.
just a shout out to my wife who's put up with me for 31 years. It's our anniversary tonight.
Oh, happy
Happy anniversary,
That's
sweetie.
important.
Very nice. Karen, you're a good lady.
Yeah.
No, this is a dad of girls, so you know he's good. All right. Anybody else? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you guys for coming.